Epiphany is simply a word that means revelation. And it is important for us as we celebrate this feast to be in touch with the fact that it is an opportunity for God to pull back the curtain on all that's being done and things that we are unaware of, maybe because we're too focused on the things of this world. And He is inviting us to see and be in touch with all those things in our life that have happened in many secret ways that have saved us from the edge of sinfulness and also disaster in our lives, many ways in which God has saved us. And it's important for us to keep in mind that God is doing much more than is present in our normal vision of things. And the problem is that we live in an age of just massive overabundance of information, to the point where we begin to think that the more information that we gather for ourselves, the safer we're going to be, the kind of intelligence that allows us to be safe. And yet, the Christian is one who is always open to looking at what God is doing in our lives, to be internally free to know that God is at work in our lives. And so it takes a real conversion on our part, the kind of conversion that we see in both Paul and in the Magi. Paul is one who was persecuting the Christians. He was convinced, because of what he knew, that these Christians were a threat to the order of his religion and his followers. He realized that they were in some way challenging a new way of looking at God. And so he tried to do everything possible to annihilate them. And yet it was the very Jesus who he was persecuting who came to him and revealed himself. As we hear in that letter from the Ephesians, he realized it wasn't just by knowledge that he had, but really a revelation, an encounter with Jesus. And so he changed to the point where, ironically, he becomes the apostle to the Gentiles, that he expands the understanding of what God's purpose is by having the offer of salvation given to them as well. I think it's important for us, as we think about our lives, of maybe how we can be an obstacle at times to God's love and mercy by making too many demands on people, realizing that God's grace comes at different moments, and to realize that we should always be there to assist people to have God's grace come at God's own pace. I know the Holy Father sometimes gets criticized by people because he really is looking for a way to be inclusive of everyone, just as Paul was taught how to be inclusive when he was called to be the apostle to the Gentiles. So it's an opportunity for us on this Epiphany Day to really look at how the Lord is calling us to make sure that no one's left behind. But we also see a conversion take place in the lives of the Magi. We're told at the end that they go back by a different way. That is a real expression of what it means to have a conversion. And at first they go to Herod, and they go to those who are in power, thinking that they have all the answers. And yet it's the star that rises in the heavens that God created, that leads them to the Christ child. And when they have that encounter with Jesus, everything changes. They offer all that they have, their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, because they realize that their lives have changed. In these days of celebrating the wonderful gift of the Lord's nativity in our midst, it's an opportunity for each one of us as well to pull back the curtain and to see how the Lord has worked in so many quiet and simple behind-the-scenes ways in our lives. The moments in which we knew that because of our own failings and our own weaknesses, our lives could have gone a different path, but the Lord's grace was there to save us. But it's also an opportunity for us to share those moments with each other, for us to sit with children and grandchildren and let them know how the faith in Jesus Christ and the encounter with Him has made a difference in our lives. My hope is that Epiphany will be an opportunity for us to have the Lord pull back the curtain on all that He's doing, to be in touch with how the Lord continues to be part of our lives in many hidden ways, and not give in to the rat race of over-information age that we're living in, to the point where we turn off and ignore the mystery of God's life within each one of us. So today, let us celebrate the Epiphany. Let the Lord pull back the curtain and remind us that he has been with us and will continue to be with us every step of the way.